Meeting of the Boothbay Selectmen to order. First up is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have no public hearings tonight, Dan?
None scheduled.
Want to go out of order just a little bit, and we're going to move to the town manager's decision. We went through the process with MMA, and out of that, we've chosen our current interim town manager, Daniel Breyer, I guess is your official name. He was the best, in our opinion, the best candidate for the position, so someone want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion that we hire Dan Breyer as the new town manager of the town of Boothbay and sign the employment agreement that the selectmen and Dan Breyer have agreed to effective tonight, that will go on and expire June 30th, 2018.
Seconded.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Congratulations.
Yes.
Oh.
Tom?
We're already saving money because we don't have to buy a new nameplate.
That's right.
Expires
June 30th, 2018.
June 30th.
Yep.
Any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
So it's
Congratulations.
Thank you.
expires next year.
Thank you for the change.
18, that's what I did. I wrote down 13, that's what I did, right? Sorry about that.
So I guess we'll just take a second to touch on what we're doing moving forward. The code position, part of the agreement with Dan, when we hired him, or in the discussions, was there is a 12-month window in his contract, which gives him an out within the 12 months if he feels that he can't do the job or doesn't like doing the job, that he can go back to code enforcement, no harm, no foul. Same way with us. In that 12-month period, if we feel that it isn't working out, no harm, no foul, he can go back to code like nothing ever happened. So in the meantime, we're not going to fill his full-time position as code. We already had one full-time code, Lori Colton, and Dan has been in contact with Art Dunlap, the guy that that mentored Dan to begin with, is going to fill in part-time. So it's going to save the town money. It's a win-win for everybody, I believe, so.
Yep, and I believe Art may be here on Friday, and we're trying to flesh out the schedule now. Right now, if I can get him a couple days, and maybe if he can cover a meeting, I can cover everything else. And Lori's been fantastic as well.
Good.
I think he would be welcomed with open arms with the comments that I've heard in the public since we've actually started all this, so, and the rumors gotten out there in the last couple, 3 weeks, and I've heard nothing but positive, and I think that's why Tom is here tonight. I think he's a happy camper. He's got a smile on his face, so.
Time for a little home cooking. And I think Dan can well fill a position.
Absolutely.
We're asking for.
I mean, part of the discussion, I mean, he realizes that, for lack of a better term, that he's green at it. And he's got milestones to hit for training and stuff that we've mutually agreed upon, so I think that I have nothing but positive things to say, so I believe it's gonna work out beautiful. Public comment? Reports? Whoops, sorry.
You spent about $1,400 for consultant from MMA on the town manager search. What did they actually do for you, and was it money well spent?
They advertised, collected, we had 37 applicants, if I remember correctly. They called them out to the best fit based on the goals that we gave them, or the objective we gave them, and then they set up the interviews and scheduled the interviews, set in on the interviews, and did the background checks and all that when it was all said and done. Once we got down to the final two, I think he did the background checks on.
And to the question is, was it money well spent? it's almost a necessary evil. It's the way I kind of see it. We went through this with Jim as well. There's just, they know where to reach to get the applicants that we're looking for.
Although we didn't have to reach very far for this one.
And ultimately, that's what it turns out, but I mean, that was a roll of the dice, you know, and it worked. By no means is anybody on this board unhappy with the fact that it ended up being Dan, but we had 37 applicants altogether, and he was definitely the best pick when it was all said and done.
And speaking honestly, I mean, going into it, my mind, I don't think any of us, our mind was set on who we were going to hire. We didn't go in with a preconceived notion that Dan was going to be hired. We wanted to see what was out there for the best fit for the town of Boothbay. And what kind of, to tell you, I'm going to talk out of turn a little bit, I apologize, Dan, but to tell you the kind of character that our now town manager has is, during the whole interview process, his response to us was, I will not be upset if you hire somebody else. This is, I'm born and raised in this town. I want the best person for the town of Boothbay. If that's not me, I'm okay with that.
And I'll be 110% behind them. So he was forthright about this whole thing throughout the entire process. And I think if we all had the preconceived notion that we were gonna hire Dan, it probably wouldn't have been money well spent. But if we all had the preconceived notion we were gonna hire Dan before this all started, I don't think we would have hired MMA to do the search in the first place. We would have just said, let's hire Dan Breyer. So.
What are the milestones that he has to hit as for our training?
Well, we have, I guess, we're gonna do, evaluations at 4 and 8 months. And he's got a list of trainings that we'd like him to go to. Most of them are free or minimal cost through MMA. So they are great for training purposes for new public officials in general, especially town managers.
Tremendous resource.
Okay.
And I have that list, Bill, if you,
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow about that.
yep.
So during the interview process, what put Dan over the top? What made him the best candidate for this position?
Character, knowledge of the area. I mean, in my opinion, I guess character speaks a lot. If you can relate and talk to the townspeople, that's 70% of the job in my book.
I would agree.
Like you said, Steve, going through the whole interview process, it was obvious that Dan wants what's best for the town of Boothbay. And that's what we all want, is somebody that wants the best for the town of Boothbay.
You guys quiet? Anything you want to say?
No, you guys are saying it all.
Okay, thank you.
Now, that's not to say 12 months from now, we might be swearing and cussing at him, but
Hopefully not.
He knows that comes with a job, too.
Yeah. It's good to be broken in on code enforcement.
Well, he's been
I
in
think
code
that'll depend on
enforcement
Dan.
now. He's been in code enforcement now for almost 4 years, so he's,
You might be cussing at him in 12 hours, Steve.
so he's used to people cussing at him, man, no doubt about that.
I'll worry if they aren't.
reports, Dan.
Public Works is currently working on spring cleanup projects, fixing floats. They'll have the old pickup stripped by tomorrow. So actually, that's one of the items on the agenda that I thought maybe we would have today. I just wanted to fill you in on what we actually got for a trade-in, but it didn't come in. And additionally, they're going to have a safety audit scheduled for tomorrow morning, just kind of a preliminary, and it's something that I'll fill you in. I think we'll have that on the agenda for next month. I'm gonna try to put the town in for an award, a safety award, that actually will save us some money, potentially if we win it. Pretty
The safety audit, that's a proactive audit?
correct. Yep.
From
We
MMA?
approach them
From
to
MMA.
say, come on in and tell us how we're doing.
We
From our
had
insurance
a,
carrier.
yeah, she called me, reached out to me, from MMA, and we just had a brief discussion. She was kind of telling me what her role is, what the expectations for the town were, asked if I wanted to meet up. We did, I think it was last week, and then we just kind of did a walkthrough here. We did a walkthrough at the fire department. And then we came back to the office and just talked about some of the possibilities for the town. She said we were a good candidate for this award, just based on our past history. And again, I'll tell you now, since we're on the topic, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to request a self-audit for the entire town. That goes fireworks, public works, I mean, the firemen, the public works and the town office. And essentially what they're gonna do, they're gonna come in, tell us what's wrong, and then they give us a 6-month window to clean that up. And if in that 6 months, we call them back and they come out, we're in the running, and potentially saves us, I think, 3% on the deductible for MMA. So, there's 3% is 3%.
Absolutely.
See that he's already working to save us money.
Yeah. So, that's where we're at, but that's what they're gonna, I think they're gonna just have one done tomorrow. We're also gonna have a safety class, that's kind of a mandatory item for everyone, tomorrow morning, and anyone who's watching will be shut down for the first hour. It's my fault. But it was the easiest way to get everybody together at one time.
So
Otherwise, it would have to be an internet class that you'd have to take, and it'd be like herding turtles.
So the town office is closed until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning?
Correct. Yep, and we will open up ASAP, as soon as we get that class done. But that was the best time she had, otherwise we were gonna be put back a little further.
Right.
But they're gonna have theirs first thing in the morning, so. Code enforcement is working on 6 building permits, 5 subsurface wastewater permits, 2 plumbing permits, and 2 pending wharves and weirs. Pending meaning we're just waiting to get any of the information back from Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP. But as soon as that comes in, we'll schedule the rest of the process. And the business office is busy preparing for the town referendum, and as such, we expect the town reports in the office early next week. So we can look forward to those. Hopefully we can get them in maybe Tuesday, something like that. But everything looks like we're right where we should be.
And a reminder that we have no formal town meeting this year. Voting is from 8 to 6 on May 4th, here at the town hall.
Yep, town office.
Town office.
Yeah, all by referendum. That's it for us.
Wonderful. Move on to old business. Personnel policy. We have a letter here from Pat Dunn. Has anybody had a chance to read that letter? She's recommending that the one that we had before is good enough, in a nutshell, with a few
With
changes.
just a few tweaks.
So do you want to table this until we all get a chance to read her response and then talk about it at the next meeting?
I think it'd be best.
Okay. So we'll move on. Lincolnville Communication Franchise Agreement. Would you like to speak to this?
Yep, again, this was sent off to Sally. She just took a look at it. She made some tweaks in there. I think they're pretty low level. There are just things that she wanted to clean up in the agreement that they had proposed. I had it done in color so that you could just see what each one was, what each item that she flagged was, and what her correction was, her suggested correction.
Looks like all just,
Nothing. It's almost all low-level items.
so shall we tell her to give us a cleaned up one, send it to Lincolnville, and if they're okay with it, we'll put it on the agenda for next
Next
meeting?
meeting?
Yeah, I think that makes most sense.
Want to make sure they're okay with it too before we,
Yeah. I'll forward it to them
Yep.
as soon as we get it back, and then
Yep. Okay, next item is Mark Ironman contract. We discussed this a little bit at the last meeting. I assume you have more for us, or Chuck does, one of the two?
I just put the actual, I found the contract, the signed contract.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
all. I just wanted you to be able to have the signed contract.
Okay, have you had any discussions with him since our last meeting?
No, we haven't sat back down about it. I just said essentially we're gonna have a, kind of an ongoing discussion.
Did you have a chance to watch our last meeting?
I did not.
We discussed, because he's well past the contract date, and he's well over the man hours. We only contracted with him for 30,000, and somebody, a member of the committee, not Mark himself, but a member of our committee had approached about giving him more money. And we really didn't know a heck of a lot about it. We didn't even have a copy of the contract. at
We
the time.
figured
Yeah,
you
I had
would.
found my draft copy and gone down through it and saw the dates that were in there and the monetary amounts. Mark has been a huge help to the comp plan, getting this drafted as far along as we are. His knowledge is vast. You can throw scenarios at him, and he can give you 2 or 3 different thoughts on what we're thinking about. He's helped the board reach consensus, even on topics where there's been a lot of diversity. And I think we should keep him around.
But I guess, is it worth having a conversation with him? Because what we had all discussed before is when you have a contract for X amount of dollars, you don't just say, well, you've worked more hours, we want to give you more money. You know what I mean? I don't disagree with what you're thinking, and I expressed what I'd known from you about keeping him around for later on to implement this, but what about his contract?
Well, it's in the contract that if it was gonna be longer and go over, that they would negotiate.
Right, which never happened,
Any further charges, which apparently never happened.
which should have happened a year ago.
And the way I kind of look at it is usually if somebody's doing the service for you, when their contract ends, they kind of reapproach you and say, you know, my contract's expired, I'm basically working.
I can understand the committee members' concern. Mark hasn't said that he's unhappy, but he is putting in a lot of extra work on top of the original contract.
Could we do this? Schedule a time when, maybe before the next comp plan meeting, when you and Dan can sit down and have a discussion on it. Feel them out.
Yep.
I mean, I think that it makes sense to have you do it because you've been
You've been
with
in
him.
on the process.
Absolutely. And then you can let us know at the next meeting what your thoughts are and what his thoughts are.
We're scheduled for May 5th, I think, isn't it, Chuck? It was the day after.
Day after town meeting?
Yeah, I think we were scheduled for that, so we can start that process if you want.
Sure.
See if I can get Mark here an hour early.
I mean,
Would that work?
That works for me.
Okay.
I can tell you, you know how cheap I am when it comes to a buck, and how I really wasn't sold on hiring a consultant, but my view has changed in light of what Mark has done to help the committee along. We wouldn't be nearly as far along as we are without his guidance. And that being said, when it comes time to revamp the zoning ordinance, it'd be my recommendation to the board that they look at bringing Mark and planning decisions back on board to help with that as well.
all right, so once you guys meet with him, we'll have it on the agenda for our next meeting. Okay. And you said you wanted to skip the truck proposal for now?
Yeah, I just didn't get that number today. It was just gonna be a quick update.
We've been pretty good. We've tabled the first 4 items.
Yeah.
That's progress right there.
We'll be out of here in no time.
Right. New business, we have a new Ulmer Fund request. Question for you, Dan.
Yes.
I don't know if you talked to this individual or not, but, whoops.
Sorry.
This is for a year from now?
Yeah, but they are getting their money together now. I think they're going to start buying tickets maybe ahead of schedule.
I don't think you can buy airfare tickets
I
a year
don't
in
think it's that
advance.
far ahead, but they are starting to gather money. I have my own to worry about. He's going as well.
So it's Caitlin Deku, she lives on Back River Road in Boothbay.
What's the last name?
Deku, D-A-K-U. She's requesting $850, and it says, "I am requesting assistance for the airfare so that I may travel with the GAP program in BRHS in April 2016. This would give me a great learning experience in Germany, learning a new culture with my fellow students."
we're gonna be right back to the same conversation we're gonna have every time until we set a policy up on this whole front.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I applaud her for looking ahead, but it's almost too early to look at this. A lot can happen in a year.
Do you know, Dan, I mean, having one of your kids going through this, you have firsthand knowledge, do they do any kind of fundraising and stuff?
They do, yep. There are various functions that they do. They do, I think they do a bottle drive. They're going to do, what's the next? They met up at the Pizza House one night. They've discussed a number of different functions that they can do to raise money.
So do you feel that this is, do you feel as we do that it's kind of early to be asking money until you can see what you can raise?
It's fairly early. I do know that they start, you start incrementally paying for it. So I think 200 has already gone in. I don't know what the next benchmark is before they want another.
Commitment of some kind.
Yeah, they don't do it all at once, or they haven't traditionally. It's been kind of piecemeal, I think, just to break it up. And then they figure out what the final end cost is after they've done all the fundraising. So, could be.
Well, could we approve it? And then just let Dan decide when the disbursement should be? At an appropriate time, like when they actually need the money?
What would happen if anybody, I don't want to pick on this poor kid because I'm not really, but if a kid got all their money and didn't help the other kids fundraise because they didn't need to. I would rather see them work
It's become
as a
kind of
group.
an issue, I think, with the GAP program. I think since, as far as I know, that's been primarily who's requested.
I was gonna say, it seems like we're getting a lot of requests for this one thing. And it's not a bad thing that these kids are going overseas. It's a great thing to be able to do. But I think we should help bridge the gap on the monies that is needed rather than pay for the entire
Entirety.
flight. Not just with this application, but any application.
Yes, sir.
Speaking as the president of the Rotary Club, these students also approach us for funding. I don't know who coordinates and lets everybody know who's getting money from where, but my ears are wide open that they're going to the town for funds. I was not aware of this.
We have the Ulmer Fund. It's long ago, a nice lady bequested the town $50,000. We can't spend that money, but we can spend the interest, and it's set for many, many years. So we have a fund now that's available only to Boothbay residents.
And only to high school students that are gonna be further in their
Right.
high school career.
Right. There's a lot of stipulations on it. So,
You're dealing with a specific fund that is set up for this purpose.
right.
I still wonder if perhaps we shouldn't be communicating.
Oh, definitely.
I agree.
With yours, in the
Definitely.
future about who's giving how much to whom.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
And probably the Lions too.
Just so that it
Yeah.
works well.
I mean, I'm sure the Lions get the same kind of
Request after
requests.
request after request. But that's what both clubs are there for,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you know.
and that's what this fund is here for too. So, I mean, it's kind of,
But it'd be nice to make sure that we're not inflating one family and there's somebody else that's, struggling to get there as well.
it's too bad you couldn't almost say, okay, out of the GAP program this year, there's 3 kids that's going through this. And you just say, okay, out of them 3 kids, we're gonna give them $1,500 total for the 3 kids. You know what I mean? I'd rather do it as a blanket, almost. I don't know, it's just I'm
That they
thinking
can
out loud.
disperse.
That helps bridge the gap a lot.
Absolutely.
Be it this kid or the town manager's kid.
Right.
They're all going for the same purpose.
Absolutely.
Same reason, and bringing back the same results.
Right.
If we can help 3 instead of 1,
Right,
why not?
right.
We do exactly that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We set them out because we're gonna donate a grant for that trip, and then however many students apply for it, they're all gonna get the same amount from us. We're not gonna
The only
respond with various amounts of.
The only gray area for us is somehow it has to only be for Boothbay residents, because that was stipulated in the Elmer Fund.
Right, so we can't just blanket give money, or we can blanket give money to the Gap, but it can only go to the Boothbay kids, which, again, then we're still,
So it's interesting.
But that could be arranged right through the school.
Absolutely.
How many kids from Boothbay are going over there, and this is the amount of money we got. You know, if it's 1,500 and you got 3 kids going, 500 apiece.
right?
We can
So-
almost be guaranteed that 67% of those kids that are going come from Boothbay.
So could we put this off and maybe you find out how many of them kids are Boothbay residents? I mean, they must have a
How many
number,
of the
how many's going now. Find out how many of the Gap kids that's going is from Boothbay, and then we'll kind of have a better idea.
At least then we'll have some numbers to,
Right,
because right now, I mean, it's a great philosophy unless 30 kids from Boothbay are going.
right.
Got a question. How is this request any different than the one that you approved last month?
Usually they're for the coming time. This is for next year. I mean, that's,
But how is it
Dan
different?
Jones for next year too?
I don't think so.
That's what the trip is.
No, they had just. they
There's
just
a
had
trip
one.
every year.
Yeah, they do them every year.
Oh, yeah?
No.
No?
His was for next year too?
So did we just miss that? So now we set precedents and,
Mhm.
Gotta read the Boothbay Register.
I still think we need
It's,
to find
it's every
out.
it's every 2 years.
It's every 2 years?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah,
We've been
for
approving
the, for
requests for this for
GAP,
every
I don't
year.
know if it's the same for the others, but for the GAP program it is. I just, the only reason I know is, again,
Mhm.
I have one in the
Mhm.
program, and he went the first time, and that was his sophomore year, and he'll be able to go see.
Well, I guess holding on to it for a couple of weeks isn't gonna hurt anything. I'd like to have the number, because if we
Yep.
blanketed money,
Yep.
maybe give more and just make sure it covers all of the residents of Boothbay, that would make the most sense, in my opinion.
If the Rotary Club wanted to know who someone in our club could contact in town to make this coordination.
Dan.
Work with Dan.
Dan brought it.
You got it. I'll make it happen. And Tom, you're not headline anymore, I know that.
No, no,
I want to
but
talk
I
to.
can pass the word on.
It's, thank you.
Okay, so now we have the Rotary request for a raffle.
Evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
I've been here before, last year. The Rotary Club wants to do its raffle again. I think, everybody knows this? Was anybody not in the room last year except for Dan?
I don't think so.
We got the same bunch.
Same bunch. So, just to let you know what happened, we did our drawing at the Watershed Tavern last fall, and the winner was a lobsterman down in the harbor. His net earnings was like $535 from his tickets, and our net earnings was $4,000 and small change, which is designated for education. That was the Boothbay Harbor Rotary 500, that was the name of that game. This year, it's bet on education, because that's what it's targeted for.
Absolutely.
The state has some very, very tight regulations on this. So I am here to ask for your consent to apply for the permit to do this raffle. And if you are so inclined, you could sign a blanket for a period of time of your choice, and then I wouldn't have to come back every year. It's up to you. So, if you don't have any questions.
I think it's a great program.
I do too.
Anything to help
It's been
education,
fun.
I bet.
You know, it's based on a much bigger game that they, somebody told me about, that they play down country. It's been $20,000, and the tickets are $50 a piece, and they raise $20,000.
Wow.
But that's just out of our league.
Yeah.
Right.
For this little area. You know, that's the idea that I brought back from our Rotary President's training, and my board said, yeah, I think we better.
Yeah.
$20 a ticket, it's perfect. So we didn't change a thing. Except that we're gonna do the drawing at the completion of the auction this year.
Oh, at the end of the auction,
Here.
okay.
We're not gonna do it, if we're gonna do, wherever we do the drawing is wherever the state says I have to get consent. So, because we're gonna do the drawing right there on the commons, tag, you're it again. And that seems to be the consensus going forward, is that we'll do it as a part of the auction.
We're gonna make him come back every year?
I think we ought to give him a 3-year or even a
Whatever
5-year.
you're comfortable with.
I mean, why not a 5-year
I don't,
allowing them to do it? It's not like they're doing a game of chance that's
right.
benefiting nothing but good.
They've got strict stipulations that it's gotta go to education anyway, so there's nothing negative in it. I don't have a problem with it. Give him 5 years?
5 years is fine with me.
So should we do it in 2 separate motions to do this year's and then just do the agreement for 5 years?
I think we can make it all in one.
Okay, shoot.
Make a motion to approve the Rotary's request for a raffle, the drawing at which will be held at the Rotary's auction on the Boothbay Common. And I make this motion to go for 5 years, ending in, let's see, this is 15? 2020.
2020.
Seconded.
15, 16, 17, 18. 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Today is the 22nd.
Yep.
4.5 more hours.
Oh, I guess I'll go that way. I was gonna go that way with that one, but it'd be confusing.
It doesn't matter. Back for a second anyway.
There's the check.
I'm sorry.
Of course, you'll just have to sign under Steve's name. There's only
Well,
spots
he
for
can sign that
4.
one, I'll sign this one. There's only 4. It doesn't need to be all 5, does it?
I don't know.
I'll sign this one, he'll sign that one.
Yes.
What the hell? Just the majority, anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Dan, do you need copies of these?
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
gonna say, I'm
The
assuming.
meeting's almost over. If you don't mind waiting just a minute, he'll photocopy them, and then you can have them, the original.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Oh, I'm gonna hang up till then.
Yeah, just,
Yep.
if you don't mind.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anything else for new business that we haven't covered that you
No.
popped into your head?
No.
Public comment? Ron?
Yeah, I'm just here to represent a couple from Barnes Island that just last spring purchased a piece of property out on Higby Lane. And it's a beautiful place with a really nice deck, but unfortunately, whoever built it underbuilt the deck enough so that the snow load ripped it off the roof, ripped it off the side of the house. So I was just hoping, because they don't really, I mean, it was a nice deck that should not have to be rebuilt. So I was hoping you guys could waive the need for a building permit on
For the fees.
that, for the fees, right?
I need more information before
Yeah. How much, I guess one isn't, how much is the fees?
It's about a 780 square foot deck.
Put on your
Just
code hat
curi-
for a sec, Dan.
Just curious, their insurance company isn't covering this for them?
The insurance company will cover the deck being built. I don't know, I just figured that there's no reason why they should have to even rebuild it to begin with, so why should they have to buy?
Well, they should go after the builder for that.
$7.
Huh?
$127.
The problem is, though, if you start allowing that every time there's flood damage, you know, if someone's pipe bursts or anything, I mean, I think that you're setting a awful precedence at that point, you know what I mean?
Someone could jump on the bandwagon. and
Absolutely.
really-
I mean, I
really
think,
do some
I
damage
think your
later.
intentions are very well
Right.
intended, I do, but,
I agree with you. They shouldn't have to pay for another permit, but unfortunately,
Have to.
The guy that should pay for it is the builder if he didn't build it right.
Yeah, I mean, if it was underbuilt,
I don't know who it was.
I understand it.
They just bought it from someone else, you know. and
Yep.
I just kinda thought it was a bad enough deal already, so.
I understand. And trust me, I'm with you, but if this board starts doing that, it could just snowball. And then we get to this point of, well, how do we, just like we did with the Elmore Fund, all right, we approved one, well, how do we make more determinations down the road?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ron.
Fair enough. See you tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Now we know he needs a permit.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Ron.
See ya. Any more public comment? Tom?
I think all five of you guys sitting there know that I'll be the first to make a complaint if I think you make a wrong decision. I'll be the first tonight to say, I think you made the right decision. Congrats, Dan.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. And congratulations, Dan.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
It is official now.
Yeah.
No backing out, we've got a signature.
He says that now, let's see what he says in a month.
You do know that part of the initiation is the first couple of months of a new town manager, you must have fresh coffee from Dunkin' Donuts on meeting night. Just saying.
And pastries.
I wish I'd known that before I signed. It was Kaz in the summertime.
You never make it here for meeting.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to review the warrants and sign them upon review there.
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor? It's the only time I heard